Hello, folks. Good morning. In this class, I will be telling you about the individual behavior, the employee behavior. Remember how we started off? In the first few sessions, we talked about the organization. We said that we are going to talk about the organization first, and then we are going to talk about teams, and then we are going to come to individuals. So when we were talking about organization, we talked about the organizational structure, the organizational chart. You did the exercise where we talked about the tall organizational structure and flat organizational structure and so on and so forth. In organizational culture, we watched a couple of videos. We watched an organizational culture video of Google and also in some classes for SAS, and we contrasted both organizational cultures. Now we are coming down to the individual employee behavior. Why is it important to learn about individual behavior? Because it is important because individual behaviors become team behaviors, and all the team behaviors become the organizational behavior. So the individual behavior is the fundamental behavior within an organization. And in this session, I'm going to be talking about the Mars model and some types of individual behaviors, right? So this is on your Schoology on this slide. If you go to slide 28, it says employee behavior. It is right after the path, goal, leadership style, and what makes a good leader. All right. So first, in the employee behavior, we have some terms and definitions. So let me talk about the four terms: motivation, ability, role perceptions, and situational factors. All right. So that is why when we talk about Mars model, that is what Mars means. Motivation, ability, role perceptions, and situational factors are going to be the four factors that we are going to be discussing. All right. So what is motivation? Forces within a person that affect his or her direction, intensity, and persistence of voluntary behavior. Right. For example, right now, you all have different reasons to join this class. All right. This online or watch this online video. Your motivation is different. We all come from different different kind of socioeconomic backgrounds. We have, as individuals, very different motivations. For you to do something and to be driven to do something from within, that is motivation. Some of you may be more inclined toward playing a certain sport or pursuing a certain kind of music, right? So your motivation is different. Some of you like math, some of you like some other language kind of subjects. So it depends on how you feel about a certain thing and what drives you to pursue it. All right. So that is what motivation is. Ability are two kinds of learned behaviors. One, let me put it this way: the natural aptitudes that you have and the learned capabilities that you require to successfully complete a task is known as an ability, right? And it is made up of two things. One is what you inherit, right? What you have inherently as an individual. It is your natural ability, and then you have a learned ability. Consider an example of you playing a sport, whether it is cricket or football. When you started playing it, you realized that you had a natural ability to be a batsman, a batter, or a bowler, right? Or if you were playing soccer, for example, or any other game, you had a natural ability to be a defender or to be an offensive player, a forward, or a goalkeeper, perhaps. So some of it was that you naturally had, and some of it was learned because you continued to practice it over a period of time, right? I gave you in some classes my own example when I started playing squash, right? So my coach knew that I had some inherent ability, some natural ability. I was the right build. I had the right kind of balance. I had the right kind of eye-hand coordination to be able to do it, to be able to play well. And then it was hours and hours of practice which increased my ability to be able to do something. Then there are role perceptions. Role perceptions is the degree to which a person understands the job duties assigned to or expected of him or her, right? What does it mean? So role perception, for example, if I have a startup organization and if I want to hire you as a sales manager, what do you think your role would be? So some of you might say that my role is to sell a product or a service. Somebody else might say that my job mainly is to develop long-term relationships with my potential clients. Some might say that as a sales manager, my job is to manage all the sales associates in the team that I have, right? So same role, but your perception of what you are supposed to do in that role might differ a little bit. And then if I might ask that I'm also hiring an HR manager in my company, right? So what do you think you would be doing in that kind of role? And some of you might say that, well, we'll be doing recruitment and staffing. Some might say that I'll be focusing on compensation and benefits. Some might say that I'm going to be making sure that we have the training and development available for all the staff that we hire. Some might say employee relations, and there are different aspects of an HR manager's role that you might indicate, right? Whatever you say, it would be very different from the sales manager role. So your perception of what you are going to be doing in an HR manager role would be very different than what you would be doing in a sales manager role. And that is what it means, right? Role perception. How do you feel about the role? If what you think you are supposed to do in a role matches with the organizational expectations, then that's a good fit. You'll be doing well because whatever you're going to be doing is going to match and fit with the organization that you're working for, right? So their expectation from you as somebody, as an employee in that role, and your expectation or your perception of what you're supposed to do in that role will match. So that is a good thing. If it doesn't match, then issues can arise. The fourth thing is situational factors, right? So conditions beyond employees' immediate control that constrain or facilitate behavior and performance. That is what it means. And think about the coronavirus right now. The whole situation around the globe, people are affected by it. Countries are in lockdown. Companies and organizations are suffering. Do you think at this point in time, organizations would be hiring more people, that their businesses would be thriving? Absolutely not. So this is a time when businesses are not doing well because the customer mobility is effective, right? People are not coming to the stores or going to the organizations, at least most organizations, to buy stuff. And when the sales are down, the organizations are not doing well, they cut down on the employees as well, as a general principle. All right. So when organizations are in a situation where they are letting go of people, individual employees working in an organization, they do not have any control over it. You know what I mean? So that could affect an employee's morale, motivation, ability to be able to do a job. For example, think of a situation when your organization has told you that we'd be letting go of people. Do you think you'd be able to commit 100% to that job role? No, you'd be concerned about being let go, right? And you might be actually looking for another job, working on the laptop in an organization, but looking at other jobs because there is that risk that you might be let go. So these are the 3-4 things: motivation, ability, role perception, and situational factor that make up the Mars model. All right. So the as far as the Mars model itself is concerned, these four factors are affected by values, personality, perceptions, emotions, attitudes, and stress. All right. So these few things, these seven things, six things, affect your motivation, ability, role perception, situational factors, which in turn and consequently affect your individual behavior and results. Talk about your values. So, for example, I'll just give one example. If your value is to help other people, right? If that is your personal value that you get from your culture or from your family or from your religion, whatever. How do you think that would affect your motivation or ability in a company, right? If you are a person who likes helping other people and you are in an organization that gives you an opportunity to be able to help other people in that job role, wouldn't you be motivated in that role? Of course you would, because your personal values and what you're supposed to do in that job matches, right? So your motivation would be high. If your personal value is integrity and honesty, and your job role requires you to cheat your customers, for example, and not tell them the truth, then you will not be very comfortable in that kind of a job role, right? So your motivation and ability to do that job will be low. So that is how some of these factors, values, personality, perceptions, emotions, attitudes, and stress, and that is on the slide about employee behavior on the Mars model, affect these four factors: motivation, ability, role perceptions, and situational factors. And how they correlate and play with each other, all these four factors affects your individual behavior, which is quite obvious, right? If you have high motivation and your ability matches the role that you are in, and the situational factors are positive, and you have a good solid role perception, a positive role perception, and it matches with your organization's expectations, then your individual behavior would be very positive in that organization as well. All right, so more to come, stay tuned.